Rise, rise. All right. Yeah, I feel better standing up.
Now, if it was my daughter Julie when she was 3 years old, she wouldn't see the table going up. She would see you going down.
Well, right.
Down,
Why
down,
you,
down.
why are you going down?
I told you that story, right? About the atrium elevator.
Oh, I think I seem to recall that.
We had a glass elevator in the atrium where in the building we used to work in. And when we'd go on Saturday or something, we'd often take Julie along with us.
Mm-hmm.
We'd get in on the first floor and then go down to the lower level. Well, when you go down, obviously the atrium, there's a glass elevator, but all you see is a brick wall. And the brick wall, I'd push the button and she'd say, up, up, up. Like, this child is mistaken. We are going down. She would see the bricks going up.
I say, yeah.
Like that child knew about relativity at the age of 3. No wonder she's got a PhD.
Yeah. And left you in the dust.
Uh-huh. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay if my kids outsmart me.
Sure.
You don't want them to outsmart you and outlive you. All right. We are live.
Oh, yeah, we did go live.
We should probably share this on social media.
Why not?
I don't know what's happened in the last couple of weeks, but my typing has gone for pot. It is terrible. I'll start typing and, for whatever reason, my fingers don't feel that thing on the home row and I'm off by a key, or I just can't seem to hit the right keys. What has happened? It's not for lack of typing. I'm typing a lot.
It's the seasons are changing.
You get to 60 and everything goes to hell.
Allergies. I know. Every once in a while, I go through a spell like that. It's like, what is wrong with my fingers? And
well, I got to teach a course in a few days.
Oh, that's right.
Demos.
Mm-hmm.
All right, share. This is you won't believe. You won't believe what happens on this episode. Make it clickbait.
Yeah, clickbait. Is this the end? Question mark.
That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Fooled ya. All right. That's that. Shall we?
Fired up.
Maybe somebody will join us in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or if you're watching, thank you for watching. But it ain't live because nobody's here. And it's a bit on an irregular schedule. So we'll go with that. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. See if I remember how to do this. Technorama episode 772 for May 14th, 2025. Forgot the title. See, I don't know what to do. Episode 772. Are we living in a simulation, or did Craig just forget to update the firmware again?
I thought that was a good title.
Craig, there's been a lot happening. In fact, we almost didn't do a show this week because you just got back from the conference. And as a quick disclaimer, this is not going to be one of our standard Technorama formats where we do the history and we do some news and we do the Remember When. This is sort of a Patreon behind the scenes show where we just kick back and chat for a while.
Yeah, why not?
To give you, the non-Patreon people, an idea of what kind of content we have for the Patreon show. And it also saves us making 2 shows tonight.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah.
Because Craig's been gone for a week. We didn't have a show last week.
Mm-hmm.
A lot has been happening.
Yeah, well, let's start off with the conference. I'll talk about that for a little bit.
That's where you've been the last week. You've been
That's where I've been the last week. So
conference.
Yeah, a week ago from the Sunday we're recording this, I flew out to Vegas, and which really wasn't a big deal. The flight was good. That's what I meant, the big deal part. It wasn't really a problem. I've heard some issues here and there with flights, so I was a little concerned, but we had some turbulence, and that was about it. So there was a lady on there. She was freaking out. She was sitting on the row ahead of me to the side before we took off, and I saw her go, "Oh man, I forgot to charge my phone. And then she's sitting in the exit row, so there's nothing in front of her. Sometimes they have USB
Right.
ports in front of you. So she grabs her cable and plugs it in the headset behind her, in the what would be the seat behind her, and is starting to charge it. And I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you have a wall charger?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I think that might go a little faster, and there's a plug right there."
Right between the seats by
Yeah.
your
She's
by your
like,
knees. Yeah.
"Oh." So she plugs it in to the plug behind her. Not turns out in the exit row there was one at her knee.
Okay.
So she's like all over the place trying to figure out how to plug in her phone.
You mean in the row behind her? So she's in row 18. She's trying to plug it into row 19
She's on
seat?
the exit row, so there's no sometimes the plug is in
Oh,
front of you, but there
yeah.
wasn't one. However, on the exit row seats, I think they just have them at her knee, you
Gotcha.
know, right there and down below. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. She was trying hard to figure out how to charge her phone. Um, but anyway, the conference was great. We I won't go into too deep a detail because you really need to know about ServiceNow to really
I
understand
was living
everything.
vicariously through LinkedIn.
But huh? Yeah, right. I probably well maybe I should have posted more on LinkedIn.
Oh, there was plenty. Believe me,
Yeah.
there was plenty.
Well, my team tried something new. If you're not familiar with what I do, is I work on the team that puts up all the virtual workstations basically for the classes. Other people build the content that goes on those machines and makes it what it is for that class. And they follow the lab guide, and then the system's supposed to be totally programmed for it and set to go. So this year we tried something a little different. Rather than trying to configure all the instances on the fly, we did a caching system where we would take the configuration, the virtual machine, put them together. We would configure one and make an image so we could spin that up, however many times we needed it for the
Mhm.
class. So we did that on all the classes that were certified. When they say they're certified, we expect them to be configured and ready to go, just like, the people are happy with what their configuration looks like, and we can move on and do caching and all that. So anyway, we used that caching. Took us a couple days, maybe 2 days, 3 days to set up all the caches. And then Saturday morning, I lined up everything to start launching at 15-minute intervals, each class.
Yeah.
And everything was done and configured, set to go Sunday morning. So 24 hours, and we had the whole week configured and ready to go.
But just so I understand this,
Mhm,
normally you would have sort of a base installation,
mhm.
provision 300 copies of that. Obviously you're doing many more of that.
Yes.
And then you would use an individual configuration record to say, now, once it's up and running, go load package XYZ. What
Yes.
you've done is flipped it on its head and said, go and provision one, load
Mhm.
package XYZ,
That's right.
and freeze that. So
Mhm.
now when you're provisioning, you're taking out that configuration step after you've provisioned
Yes.
because that's what takes a lot longer. The
It does
provisioning
take a
only
lot
takes
longer.
about, 10 minutes to do 10,000 of these
Yeah.
machines. It's some of them can take nothing because they may not need anything loaded on. Like many of the
Mhm.
courses I took is like, hey, we're building an app from scratch.
Yeah.
We just need a baseline system.
Right.
Others can take an hour or
Oh,
more after it's been provisioned to
yes.
finish the configuration. So you've
And
really
mhm.
crushed that down.
Yeah, there is a small configuration we do on each of them, but it only takes about 10 minutes, to do that.
Yeah.
That's so we can have we use a application we wrote called Lab Management that we want to be able to make a change to that on the fly, but not the rest of the system. So
Does
you're
anybody
exactly
use
right.
that anymore?
Yes. That's like an integral part of the whole thing. We get a yes,
Because
there's a whole
originally it used to be for the instructor to go, "Hey, if when you're done with exercise 3, go to lab management and say I'm done," but nobody ever
oh, no,
did.
no, no. No, no, no. It's more
You're
than
using it
that.
for,
So
like, pace management back
well,
to your
look
team?
at it this way, it manages the class, so not necessarily people raising their hands, but when you walk in the classroom,
Yeah,
uh, the instructor or maybe, an assistant will give you the short address for the
or QR
reservation
code or
page
something. Okay,
and a code, and they can go register, and it gives, uh,
gotcha.
Mr. Bill over here what this instance because Mr. Chuck over here, this instance, and they don't get the same instance that manages all of that.
Right. Right. Okay.
Those things.
That's part of lab management. Okay.
That is part of management. So overall, it was success. There was a couple of times where we had to spin up. Like there was one class where I had the seat count wrong, but we knew about it about an hour ahead of time, so I was able to like throw some more machines at it, and they were up and running. We wouldn't have. They would have been prohibitive to do that before.
Way quicker, especially if you have to wait, an hour or more after it's been provisioned to do that configuration. Now
yes.
it's already pre-configured, so you're just doing the provisioning piece on the
Yes.
fly. Nice.
Yeah, that was, and it's not totally automated at this point, but that's the next phase after
Okay.
knowledge was really a proving ground for this, and so there was some hands-on stuff we had to do when we did the caching, but as far as spinning up is like was cake. And there was a couple of them that we were trying to troubleshoot, so you can just bypass the cache. There's a checkbox and spin it up and do a live configuration, so it's very flexible, and I mentioned the config earlier. If you go once your config is certified, and say you go make a change, it's going to throw the image out because it's not certified anymore because you made a change. So you have to do that process to certify it, and all that'll be automatic in the very near future because it was super helpful. There's some of those plugins take 8 hours to install. It's ridiculous, and it's getting worse. So this is a big step for our team.
So you also had the final night party was Gwen Stefani at the Sphere. How'd that go?
That was fantastic. Well, there was a DJ, I forget his name, but it's actually our CEO's son who was DJing.
Really?
Yeah. When I found that out, if you look at his face, you can kind of tell, they look related.
Was he wearing dark glasses? Sorry.
No, he wasn't wearing dark glasses.
He should have.
Yeah.
Don't you see the resemblance?
You're right. Well, he was doing a pretty good job. And then Leon Bridges, which I was not familiar with him. And he reminded me a lot of like listening to Bill Withers or another 70s kind of R&B kind of really good. And I listened to more of his music after the concert, and it was great. And then Gwen Stefani, and of course this was all in the Sphere in Vegas. So the Sphere was doing its Sphere thing with the the show that goes along with the show.
The show, the LED show on the ceiling.
It's amazing. I mean, how clear how everything, the visuals. So the first time when she started singing, the whole thing turned checkerboard, and it looked like almost. It reminded me of the Amiga demo. A little ball that would bounce around.
You're inside the ball.
Yeah, I'm in the ball. But it had the way they did it. It looked like it was extension of the stage, and the Sphere part just kind of blended into it. And they did some other surreal stuff.
That must be incredibly challenging technically. Not just for the connectivity. You don't just take your laptop and hook up an HDMI cable.
Can you imagine using that as your desktop?
What's
looking around?
You got a workspace over here and down there, and okay.
But it is an amazing piece of technology. I think there's a video online talking about what all they use, and I'm sure it's changed over time for the back end. But there's a screen on the outside of that thing and the inside. So the outside, they show. I saw whales on it one time.
The moon, the sun,
the sun.
Yep.
I saw that there's in the mornings. There's a big yellow smiley face. Looks like a emoji. Blinking and looking around. You can see that online too. It's an amazing place. I really like it. So that was a fun concert. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Gwen Stefani fan in the world. I like her just fine, but she put on a great show, and along with the visuals. Actually, I was thinking, I knew that I forget the name of the Grateful Dead remaining members. They have a different, name to the band, Dead Forever or something, but they were doing a residency there at the Sphere, and I could imagine all the surreal stuff they could put on the screen. So if you were in a altered state, I imagine it would be a lot of fun to watch that show. So, but yeah, it's pretty amazing to go there. So if you get a chance to go to the Sphere, definitely do it. They have a demo kind of movie. You pay to go see the show. I think I talked about it last year, but it was how climate change decimated the earth, humans left, and we were rebuilding it, the climate, and it was repairing itself over time. And humans had come to visit, and
Mhm.
so then they start talking about how it was, and then you start seeing scenes from Earth, like almost like the Netflix special, The Earth, or you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like David Attenborough was going to start talking, but there's this elephant foot in front of you, and to see the top of the elephant, you have to literally look above your head to see it, and it's things like that. And so you can go see that, I think, really anytime. But that I would definitely recommend that.
Any other big news you want to share?
Big news.
Or minor news?
I made it home.
Made it.
Yeah, I
Good.
made it.
Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been texting back and forth while you were doing that, having some fun.
Yeah.
The big news from our side is, unfortunately, my mom passed away on May 2nd.
Yep.
She was 90 years old. Her health has been declining about the last year or so. So this was not a surprise. And then around the first of the year, we realized she's not getting any better.
Hmm.
Both mentally and physically, she was declining.
We
Uh,
were scared. We heard in the news while we were on the cruise, and that was the
it
not that
was
she passed away, but she
Well,
was sick.
yeah, she had to go into assisted living,
Hmm.
and the end was near, and it was affecting me on that cruise, and a number of people, were kind enough to ask, "How you doing? How's your mom?"
Hmm.
Etcetera. Um, and my dad said, "She could go next tomorrow, she could hang on for a couple more months." Well, she did hang on for a couple more months. She made it past her 90th birthday in late February,
Hmm.
and, she had a big full life. 9 kids, 29 grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren, uh, you know, pretty darn active right up to the end. I think they were out riding bikes at this time last year.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, she had a good time, and I didn't realize until recently when I was reading the obituary, how many of my attributes came from her.
Oh, really? Okay.
For example,
Hmm.
taught scuba courses. I like to teach. She was in theater. I like to present, and
Well,
the
look
theme
at what we're doing here.
what we're doing here. Exactly. I
Yeah.
got stage lights. I've got a
Hmm.
microphone.
Hmm.
Uh, she taught music. She had a music major. I may be a little late to the game. I was introduced to it at an early age. I remember playing the piano at age 5. Uh, but in the last 5, 6 years, I have just loved doing karaoke and now playing the ukulele and relearning a lot of those musical skills and lessons that I did when I was a child. And it's brought me a lot of joy. And as I was reading through this, going, wow, that's just like mom. That's
Hmm.
just like mom. And I didn't do it because she did it. I did it because I enjoyed these things, and they brought me satisfaction, and they helped other people. It sometimes just for fun. And I went, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. So
That
it
is
was
cool.
it was a nice reflection on that. So sad to see her go.
Of
It
course.
was
Yeah.
I last spoke with her conversationally on my birthday at the end of March, and then my youngest sister was in Michigan, for a few days at the beginning of the month, and she texted me. It was like Friday around noon my time. She said, "Hey, if you got a minute, give me a call." I'm like, "Oh, here comes the call."
Hmm.
But I said, "I Is mom gone?" She said, "No, she's resting right now, but she's on her last breaths, real literally, very shallow breathing. She hadn't been eating for days. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know exactly when." So she said, "If you'd like to talk to her, I can hold up the phone to her ear. She's resting right now, but we believe she can hear because she's had just some reactions to other calls from my brothers and sisters." So she held her up, and I, said, "I love you." I said, "You can go now." Uh, it was a tearful goodbye, but very
Hmm.
thankful that she made that gesture. And 15 minutes later, she was gone. So I'm very thankful that I got to say goodbye, even though I wasn't there. My dad was there, 3 of my sisters, one of the granddaughters. So she was surrounded by loved ones. Now we're working on the funeral plans, which will be at the end of July. So,
Okay.
yeah, and everybody has been so supportive, at church, at work, on social media. It really has been a wonderful community. So, thank you everyone for that. On happier notes, Donna and I are taking a trip, and we will be in Vancouver at the end of this month in May. So if you're in the Vancouver area and you happen to be around on, let me check the date. I want to get it right.
On Thursday,
Friday, May 30th.
May 30th. Okay.
We would love to see you. Reach out to me. There is a plan already for the ServiceNow developer meetup in Vancouver. You don't have to be developer. This is gonna be like a pub meetup. We're not going to be talking tech or anything.
Okay.
But like, hey, Chuck is in town, and I have some friends in
Wait,
Vancouver.
you will be talking tech, but you don't
Well,
have to necessarily talk tech. To everybody.
Probably. I probably will be talking tech, but you never
Yeah.
know. So that's happening. We've already booked another trip for next May, but we'll give you more information as that starts to develop, because I don't know exactly when and how and why, and a lot of details are still sketchy.
That's a year away, though. But yeah.
That's a year away, but some people are already diving into it head first. I'm not even packed for this Friday when we're going to Alaska.
Oh, that reminds me.
Some people
So
pack
this-
2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, this last week, when I was going to Las Vegas, I packed the morning of. Well, most of them, which was the one thing that's really cool.
And there's some things you need that day. I mean, I
Yeah.
sleep with a sleep mask and I sleep with a night guard. I need to
Mhm.
pack those last.
Yeah, usually I pack the toiletries last because I'm using them, and I'll throw in what I put my hands on.
Right.
Throw it in. I didn't pack my clothes until the morning of. I did have plenty of time, so it wasn't like a huge rush. But yeah, I got there and I didn't have any t-shirts, like regular t-shirts. Like if I'm in my room watching TV,
Right.
I take off my ServiceNow shirt. I don't want to sit there in just my underwear, you know. So I sleep in a t-shirt. So
I
didn't have
actually
any of
packed
those.
2 or 3 like ServiceNow t-shirts for that.
Yeah, so that was the one thing I forgot. Other than that, I did pretty
Okay.
good. And one thing I did notice is that over time, your tech has gotten a little more smaller, more compact, and easier to pack. So, like a one charger really does my laptop or my phone or all that stuff. So anything tech related I had in one small commuter backpack, which was kind of cool
Mhm.
and easy to manage because I've got a larger backpack I have been using,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of unused space, so I got a smaller one, and it was perfect. It was perfect size. Went right under the front or in front of me under the seat. I was able to pull it out easy enough and get into it if I needed to. It was great. I love it. So I don't know about you, but I just noticed that a lot of my gear is getting smaller and more compact and easier to pack.
Some, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I tend to get more gadgets, which means I have to charge more things concurrently. So that's more chargers, and
Well,
some of
yeah.
it multiplies, some of it shrinks down.
Well, I was thinking back when I was thinking about how everything fit in the backpack. I was thinking back when Harrison was smaller, of course, and I had the mini DV recorder and the chargers for that, and the whole and it was like I had a bag just for carrying extra crap.
Yep.
Nowadays it's like, oh, I got my phone, I can take pictures if I need to, so I don't
Right.
need a camera for this, or so it's just kind of cool. Like I said, how small things have gotten.
Oh, real quick, update on my mom. My dad asked me a couple weeks before she passed if I would put together a video for the memorial service, celebration of life, whatever we're calling it.
Right.
And I agreed. I said, yeah, I can do that. That's, right up my alley, audio video production.
Mhm.
So he sent me a DVD with a couple hundred pictures. Then my brothers and sisters throw a couple hundred more pictures at me, and I deduplicated and started throwing them together. Thing came out to be 4 seconds a picture,
Mhm.
and it's 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it will
And
sneak up on you. It will sneak up you.
I didn't want to cut anything out because and I put them in random order. I mean, 1 minute they're getting married, the next she's with great granddaughter, and it just jumps around. And I was okay. and I was thinking, well, what music do I want to put on this? And I thought of, there's a classical tune here, and this tune would be nice. And um, I got all the pictures arranged and lined up. Then I laid down the sound, and the first time through, man, I didn't last 30
Yeah, I
seconds.
know.
I was, it was something about the
Yep.
music.
Mhm.
that told-
Oh, yeah. It adds an element to it for sure.
It does. I started out with the Commodores 3 Times a Lady, and I didn't realize a lot of that stuff is so appropriate for the funeral of a woman. Thanks for the times that you've given. The
Oh,
memories are all in my mind, and now
that's
that
a
we've come to the end of our rainbow, I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't I'm not gonna be I'll never be able to sing that myself."
yeah.
But, yeah, so,
Yeah.
I've got it done. I haven't rendered it yet because I
Mhm.
wanna watch it to make sure, I didn't forget to resize one of the images or
Well,
something.
you can do, I don't know if you may have done this, but you can take 2 or 3 pictures and put them on the screen at one time, you know, if
Yeah,
so you
you
can
can,
cut down on a little bit.
but some of them are you'd still be changing one at a time every few seconds.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't want people, going all over the place. That would be a
yeah.
very nice creative way to do it, but
Now, I
I
have done slideshows like that before, and just like you said, I was like, "Okay, I got 100 pictures, threw it in there." Next thing you know, it says it's an hour and a half movie. I was like, "Whoa,
yeah, somebody said, "Do you
whoa."
want video clips?" I'm like, "No, no," because
Yeah.
the video clips, you often need context, and that means you gotta watch it for a while.
Yeah, I guess it
And
depends on what it is, but mostly you're
yeah,
probably right. But yeah, that was funny. I was like, "An hour and a half, nobody's gonna sit around.
no,
The luncheon will be over by the time
I
this
figured,
video
yeah,
starts."
25 minutes and yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the tech.
Mhm.
I found a good source of cheap old crap.
Okay.
Um, so
The
let me set
yard
the
sale right
stage.
down the road.
Let me set the stage.
Mhm.
In my studio, I would love to have some audio monitor speakers, some
Mm,
speakers that I can hear the mix of computer A, computer B, microphone A.
yes.
Like when you're doing karaoke, you want to hear what's happening.
Mhm.
Well, I've had these speakers on my wish list for a while. They're like $200. Going, I just can't bring myself to buy them. I also needed a USB keyboard or two because I've been setting up a Raspberry Pi here, or my one and only remaining working USB keyboard is on my Mac Mini running Ubuntu because it doesn't really like the wireless keyboard all the time. Like
Right.
you reboot and then it goes, "Oh, I don't see your keyboard." Well, now how am I supposed to log in to set the keyboard up? So I left the USB keyboard there. I said, I need another keyboard or two.
Mhm.
Well, while we were in Lake Havasu City a couple of weeks ago, the girl said, "Let's go thrifting." So we went to this old lady dress shop, and we went to whatever, and we ended up at Goodwill. Well, my brother-in-law Joe is there, and I said, I'm going to go explore what's in the tech sector. Probably going to find a used VCR or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I found two keyboards, one for $2.50 and one for $3.50. Like,
3,
hey,
okay.
if they don't work, I can always pitch them and not feel guilty. If
Hey,
they
you
do
can sell
work,
the keycaps on eBay.
right, for more than that.
Break them all apart.
Like what I did with a mixer.
Yeah, exactly.
I picked up a couple of cheap Sony Vaio speakers, not the greatest. They don't have a
Mhm.
whole lot of bass. $9.50. Like, woohoo! And I got a mouse for $2.50. So for under 20 bucks, I got a little plastic shopping bag full of crap
Yeah,
that I needed.
yeah.
And it helps without having to, you can go to Amazon and go, well, it's only $20 for a nice new keyboard. Like, you know what? I don't need a nice new keyboard that I use once a year.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and if these speakers if I find another pair for $20 that have bass on them, like, I can get rid of these and not feel guilty.
Mhm.
So, I call that goodwill tech hunting.
That's right.
Um,
I did, hey, by the way,
yeah,
speaking of the keyboards, I got one thinking I was gonna use it with my Raspberry Pi because I have a little project that I was thinking about
yep.
with the Pi. Uh, it's a Pi 3, so it's a little dated, but, um, I got this keyboard. I'm gonna show it to you right here. It's Bluetooth,
I
it's
had one of those.
yeah,
Yes.
and
It worked
actually,
really well till it didn't.
well, yeah, it's not too bad. The
It's a dinky
trackpad's not
little
bad.
thing about the size of your TV remote.
Yeah, it's really what it is. But it was only like $25, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not too bad.
Back in 2019 when I was setting up the ServiceNow health club, with the 4 or 5 Raspberry Pis, I needed to set the IP number on them when they booted up, and
Hmm.
that's what I used because I didn't want to haul a full size keyboard around with.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I wish I had um I got a folding Bluetooth keyboard, which is a little bit bigger, but
Oh yeah.
I wanted to keep this near the Raspberry Pi so I can just pick it up and use it. But yeah, I still might use that. Not too bad.
I'm jumping all over the place. Next topic. Dragon Con.
Oh wait, I still had one other tech thing.
Oh, you did? Go ahead.
Yeah. So um my friend Fred and I met a guy named Brad who was one of our also an old schoolmate,
Yep.
classmate. And when we were hanging out with him, it's been about a month now, he broke out this little retro gaming device. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. What is this? No, don't skip over what it is. What it is. I want to know. So it's actually ANBER Ambernick, I think is what it was called. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's this. Yeah, Ambernick. And it's a little handheld. Looks like, you like
A miniature uh what's the Nintendo one? Switch. Like a
look
little
there,
Nintendo Switch.
look, you're on it, Chuck. There you go.
Ah, a reflection.
It's really cool. It's got LEDs and you can make it do different
Yeah.
things here, but it came with two SD cards in the bottom.
Hmm.
One's 128K and the other one's like 64.
Micro SD or TF.
Yes, the micro ones. And it has buttons on the back and lots of ports. HDMI. It came with an HDMI cable as well. USB-C, power. Yeah, it's really nice. It was only like it was like $79, I think it was, maybe a little less.
So what have you been playing?
Well, it has on those cards, it has all these retro games like arcade games and some Atari 2600, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, all of those types of handhelds. It has games on here. I don't think it's like the complete ROM set like you can find online,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of games on here. I was searching through um, the arcade ROMs, and I saw a lot of games I knew I've seen before on ROM, ROM CDs and stuff.
Have you played the Atari 2600 Adventure?
I didn't play Adventure, but I did play Burger Time on Atari 2600, which it's like, wow, I should just go play the regular Burger Time.
Uh-huh.
But it's fun. Actually, I was looking for Yar's Revenge because that was fun, but it didn't have all of the Atari 2600. So I got to look through this, and I'm gonna make a backup of the.
Could you go get some of those ROMs from online and put them on?
Yes.
Okay, so it is compatible with like the RetroPie ROMs.
It's the same. It's the
Okay.
same thing, like the MAME ROMs and the
Yes.
RetroPie, all that stuff. Yes, you
Okay.
can, and
Cool.
some of them you can get off of the Internet Archive, but I don't know, like legally if they leave those up there or not. But you can certainly search for them online. I've done that
Wink,
before.
wink, wink. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really nice. It's actually built pretty well. And what was cool was Ann Burnick. Weird name. I looked at their website, and they actually got different versions. They have a clamshell one for games that you would play vertically,
Mhm.
things like that. So they have several different handhelds. Some of them look like some of the old Nintendo, like the Game Boy Advance, where it's kind of almost like a not Y shape, but it's kind of like that. There's several different models on there, so you go check it out. You can get. I got this from through Amazon.
Oh,
So
you're gonna have to put a link in the show notes. Yeah,
and it came with a case.
Dave Slusher had something like that he got off of AliExpress for about the same price, 40, 50, $60.
Yeah, they are listed there. They're listed everywhere, but yeah,
I added one on my favorites, but I haven't been back to look. I'll see if I can find what that is.
I think I paid a little bit more because, well, one, this is a newer model of theirs and it's on Amazon, so it was already here in the States. So it kind of had some shipping built in, I guess.
Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna stick with tech since we're on tech.
All right.
I know you and I had this discussion. I think it was before you even left. Um, every 6 months or so, I'll get an email that says your NAS firmware has been updated. Like, okay, that's nice. It does auto updates,
Thanks.
but
Yeah.
I know that every time it does, it nukes the root user's home directory. That's like the only user on there.
Ugh.
I don't know why it does this reset. It means I can't keep any static SSH keys uh, past a reboot.
Yeah.
I can't make a cron tab entry on there because it's got a Linux kernel at its heart. It's not a full blown thing, but it's enough to get you around.
Right.
And I also realized that not your average Johnny Bag of Donuts person is going to be SSHing into their NAS. You mainly configure it through the web interface.
Right.
But I'm not every Johnny Bag of Donuts.
I know. No.
And what I do, one of the key things I do is do an rsync from our cloud host where we do our web servers and back those up. So I've got a cron job on my Ubuntu machine in the house that says, back it up from here, sync it over there. It's an agent, if you will.
Mhm.
And it doesn't work without SSH access to both the cloud host and the NAS.
Right.
Well, after this reboot, I couldn't rsync. So I try SSH. Doesn't work. I unpack my previous keys because I'm smart. After about 6 times, you learn, hey, when you get these all set up with the authorized keys and everything, just make a tar file somewhere else that doesn't get blitzed on a reboot. Oh, that would be my home directory. I can do
Right.
that
Yeah.
on a mounted volume. So I unpack those. It's still not working. What the heck? I generate some new keys, copy them over. Still not working. Like what? This is like now an hour or more
Permissions?
I've wasted. I thought it was permissions. It's not permissions. I throw away the authorized key file. I throw away the known host file. I'm trying everything on both ends, from my
Mhm.
laptop to the NAS. It just won't work. And I'm like, something's wrong here. So I generated new keys, and instead of copying them manually or literally copying and pasting them in, I use the SSH-copy-ID command. And I said, copy this key to root at.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does all of the permissions and authorized key file and everything for you. It went in and I looked at the authorized keys file, which I just reset, and they're not there, but yet I can SSH. Going, what did they do in this last OS update? I found out they moved root's home directory from /root
Oh.
to /home/root.
Oh, who does that? That's
And
not
why?
standard.
Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm probably not going to put that in the release notes, which I'm not going to read anyway.
But just think of people that were not technical and they go, why doesn't this work anymore? You
Now,
know?
I'm crossing my fingers. I won't know until the next time I reboot this thing whether or not home root is persistent. I'm hoping it is.
You
But
need to
then I
put it
won't
in.
have-
What you need to do is, use Git and make your home root Git repository so you can just go, pop it back
Well,
out.
the only thing I really need in there is the .ssh folder
Yeah.
with, an authorized key and the known host file. I'm good.
Mhm.
Well, and
Yeah.
its own RSI.
No, I remember years ago, I don't know if it was maybe a Linux magazine or Linux website for sure, but they were talking about how, hey, because a lot of Linux config files are just text files,
Yes.
in there. So you could basically roll your home directory into a Git repo. So everything's backed up. And not only that, but it's, it's got history on it. So you can say, oh, I screwed up this file. I can bring it back at a certain time instead of, it was before Time Machine on the Apple,
Yep.
I just thought that was a really cool idea. I never really did it because I never had access to really a private repo until now. All of them have private repos,
Yeah.
but
It's your pick.
yeah, but GitHub, I don't think they offered private ones. If they did, you had to pay for it. And then at the time, and then Bitbucket, I don't think they have private ones, but they do now. It's free. So yeah, you can do any of them now.
It used to be, what was it? GitLab defaulted to private and GitHub defaulted to public.
Yes, it's something like that.
So I had
Yeah.
a lot of my private stuff on GitLab, which I still do.
hmm
Sooner or later, I got to consolidate these things. I know there are advantages to GitLab in terms of automation,
hmm
but I haven't taken advantage of that. For me, they're just cloud storage at this point,
Yeah.
which I am using for, I think I mentioned this, about 6 months ago, I started writing an app to keep track of my ukulele songs.
Right.
So I was doing this in Markdown and generating a PDF, and that was the goal, to generate a PDF. Well, I was also using it to, I said, I'm going to render a web page in Service Portal. So I have the chords and I can see it, and I'm not scrolling through this ServiceNow.
You're writing this in ServiceNow.
I'm writing it in ServiceNow. That's
Just
where
like
it
letting
exists.
everybody know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was using it for practice, and I said, well, I put together these playlists, and I say, pick a random song, because I don't know what I want to practice. Just pick something for me. I'm not going to practice them in order. And it started to repeat. So I put in an anti-repeat algorithm. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were at a podcaster meetup here in Phoenix at a place called Fate Brewing on 7th Street.
hmm
Ding.
Right.
And there was a sign on the table that said, scan this QR code and make a request. They had a guitar player up there, playing her songs. That's pretty cool. It brings up a little UI of songs she can play that you can request. I didn't get a good look at the app, but the concept intrigued me.
You know what this reminds me of is your karaoke app.
Very similar.
Yeah.
I do have requests on that too, where you can request them out of my favorites. So this is very similar. I made 2 new tables, one for gigs and one for requests. There's one more coming when I get ratings implemented. But I wanted the customer experience to not require a login, unlike karaoke, because karaoke, you have to name and you get in a queue, yada, yada, yada. So I made that as frictionless as possible with Google and Facebook logins, or you can do the old fashioned, here's my name, here's my password, verify, verify, verify. This one I wanted completely transparent, where you literally walk up, you scan the QR code, and it shows you the page, and then you make a request. And if you make a request, it goes optionally put in your name for a shout out or something. So, in my test data, I'm recording,
Here it goes. This one's for you, Larry.
Yeah. Well, I used your name plenty of times, but I also had I'd request Billy Joel's Piano Man, and who's requesting it? The drunk at the bar.
Yeah. Right. Craig.
You gotta have fun when you're doing demo data. Well, I'm working through this, and holy kaleidoscopes, man. I have got so much new material for the course that I'm doing. Some of these things, I would just rack my brain for an hour going, why isn't this working? It worked before. Why isn't this working? It worked before.
And
then finally solve it and go, all right, make a note of that. And usually the first place I go is over to the Slack channel. There's a Slack server called SN Devs. They have a channel called #TIL, things I learned. Or it should be things I read.
Today I learned.
Pretty much. And there was one that was just driving me bananas, Craig. I have a server script that gets an object about the gig. Okay. And it returns back, here's the ID, here's the name, here's the date, here's the performer, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And it's working just great until I moved it over to a client call. And I said, now here's the thing. If you have your data loaded by the server when a page loads, you may be waiting for the page to load until the server is done retrieving the data. Whereas if you have the client do that, you can present it and then asynchronously get the data, have the client go, put up one of those loading spinner things.
Yeah,
I'm busy over here getting your data. And when I'm done, I'll take that spinner down and put up a table.
While you wait, please watch this and be dizzy.
That's a better user experience. Well, I'm trying to convert this going, it's not working. Now, the technical stack is there's a library function that gets this object. Then there's an HTTP endpoint that fetches it from that library. Then the client calls that HTTP endpoint. If I take the code out of that HTTP endpoint, it works fine. I mean, literally copy, paste, run, works fine. When I called it from the client, it failed. What is going on here?
It's like a
It was
security issue.
very, very bizarre.
Yeah,
It
I
just
don't know.
weird stuff. No, it's not a security issue.
Mhm,
It's the way in which you return the data. It's like sometimes it will automatically translate objects into strings
mhm.
because when you're doing HTTP, everything is text.
Oh, HTTP, right, okay.
Everything is text.
Mhm,
Your complex objects have to be stringified, serialized, whatever you want to call them. It's all text. And if
right.
anything gets in the way, it freaks out.
Yeah.
It drove me batty. At one point, I had to, I took the response. So the client says, "Hey, I need some data." The server goes, "Here's your data."
Yeah.
And then I make a backup copy in the client script. It's for a list. You know, when you like say show all versus just show
Yeah,
active kind of
yeah.
thing, and your list dynamically collapses. And so for example, I'm a performer. We've been playing for a while. I don't want to see all the performed songs on this list. So I check the box that says, "Oh, don't show me the performed ones. Show me only the ones that are requested that I haven't played yet."
Yes.
So the list shrinks down. I would uncheck that box and the list wouldn't come back. Like, wait a minute. It's in a backup object. It's in a backup list. It's like, here's all songs and here's active songs. When I filtered the active songs, all songs also got filtered. Like,
Oh. Huh.
these are referencing each other.
Yes, as
They're not
yeah.
copied, they're referenced. This is CS 420 that I had 40 years ago. This is I said it shouldn't be doing this. Now, how do I divorce them so I can make this work? It was literally parse
Mhm.
the first response, then stringify. No, it comes back already as an object. So I was just using it as an object, but it was an object by reference. So first I had to stringify it, then parse it.
Right.
And
Then you had
that
to stringify it again and,
no, then I took that same response and did it twice. One for
okay.
the backup and one for the active list. All right. Holy mother of pearl. What who who would have thought of that? It was just really, really bizarre. So
That does
yeah,
sound
tech has
bizarre.
been ganging up on me, but I'm slowly making ways. Uh with
Even if you said var string 1 equal or
it would be like var a equals x. Okay, let's say you get x equals 3, and
mhm,
you say var a equals x, var b equals a.
you're right.
That should be a copy. So you
Yeah,
can
I would think
change
so.
b without changing a. No, it wasn't doing that. Yeah,
Alright.
really bizarre. But
Yeah,
I got that fixed. Now I'm moving on to other things. It's going to
alright.
be pretty cool when it's done. I'm just having some layout issues because I hate CSS and I'm not very good at Bootstrap layouts. So
There's only very few people that love CSS.
Tracy, our
Yeah,
web that
yeah.
was my first question when I met her on the Star Trek cruise on our shore excursion.
What, do you love CSS?
When somebody says I'm a web developer, I go, "Do you actually like CSS?" They go, "I love it." Like,
Yeah,
I got a job for you.
liar. Actually,
I know. No, no, no. Sarah Tolson also loves CSS.
yeah, well, I remember trying to learn it, what, probably 12, 15 years ago now, and I was like, "Okay, I've got a box.
I,
I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna put another div in there," and then it would, freak out. I'm like, "What is going on?" It would
I want
just
my divs side by side, not
yeah,
up and down. Okay.
yeah. I
Figure
was
that
trying
out.
not to use tables. I thought, "Oh, this is
Yes.
the future. I'm gonna do"
Uh-huh.
No.
No.
I think I remember going, "Screw this, I'm going to tables."
I've the karaoke app is a mishmash of both. But hey, it's all if as long as it looks
It
good
works.
on
Yeah, it
mobile
works.
and the desktop, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I'm building that up, and I've got a pretty decent user experience right now and performer experience as well. Uh, I was having a talk with Scott Reynolds yesterday, and he's big into Kubernetes.
Right.
And he told me that Kubernetes has this shortened version called K8s
Yes, I'm familiar
because
with that.
that's the number of letters between the K and the S on Kubernetes. They took it out and just used an 8. Well, people started calling it Kates. And then
Right.
they shortened that up to K3S. So you've got a shortened version of a short version. I said,
Yes.
because H is too many syllables. Why would you shorten it to K3S? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So if you ever hear those terms, then he told me it's like internationalization, where you're doing language translations and stuff, is I-18N. And I went,
Yes.
oh, ding, ding, ding. I never realized that because in ServiceNow, you turn on plugins that all start with I-18N.
Yes. I've seen that in operating systems as well.
I've
Yes.
never made that association between I-18N is a shortened version of internationalization.
Uh, well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't
Call me
know that
slow.
either.
Call me
I didn't
slow.
think about that either. But yeah,
All
that's
right, you want
yeah.
one
I've seen
more
that
out of
many
the
times.
tech bag?
Yeah. Go ahead.
One more out of the tech bag. Every Friday, I have a recurring task to run an rsync on my Remarkable to my laptop.
Right.
Been working fabulously for years.
Oh no, it didn't lost the home.
This week it didn't work. No,
Oh,
it's not a bad SSH key. They didn't move the home directory because I haven't
right.
upgraded the OS in about 2 years because I don't want to, or I'll lose my extensions because they're not supported on the new OS. Blah blah blah. Other story.
Yeah.
Uh, it it gets it kind of goes in batches. It gets a batch of files and syncs them and stops. Like what? Because I'm doing a tail dash F on the log because I redirect
Sure.
the log so I can inspect it later.
Hmm.
And it says, I got 20 meg and stops. So I hit Control C and I do another one. And it goes, I got another 20 meg and stops.
Pagination.
This is going to take a while. It's the same script I've been using for years. rsync avzlh link data.
Right.
It's like it hasn't changed. And I have no idea that the error code. I tried making a new key. Sure, I can SSH. Sure, I can copy a small directory, but I can't sync like the big one that's got all the Remarkable files in it.
It's
It's
weird.
not because the system is not out of storage. I'm using half of my onboard storage for files and whatnot. It's not a specific file. It's not a specific folder. There is something that
Can,
changed.
can you try take rsync out of the equation for a minute? So if you SSH into it and you do like an SCP, then copy the files off, will that work?
I can try, but SCP is going to get them all, and I was trying to do incrementals.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I know, I
And I even
understand, but
tried a full. I said, "Look, I let's ignore the historical data. Maybe it's getting hung up on that." I said, "Let's just do a full rsync," and it's still it go.
I wonder if it's the way that Remarkable is updating their files.
I
And
haven't
that
changed anything. I
you
haven't.
haven't got an upgrade update.
Nope. I'm still
Oh,
using like 3.11. I think
hmm,
3.13 is the latest because I want to keep using RM hacks, and RM hacks hasn't been touched in a couple of years.
right. You should hit up Reddit.
I have.
Oh, you did. Okay.
There's no all the stuff is rsync stopped. Have you tried dash T? Yeah, I tried dash T. Yeah, it's like dash T. All that does is turn on the mod timestamps. It says preserve those when you copy things over. It's just it. As little as I use this thing, I probably don't need backups anymore.
Hmm.
But should the worst happen, a year or two down the road, I it's got me completely baffled. And I work on it for about 30 minutes a day for the last 3 or 4 days because
Hmm.
I started on Friday. But it's like I'm not going to let technology win. I'm
No,
not.
never.
Okay. Here's my good story for today. As many of you know, I do the audio and video at church. I
Hmm.
do the live streaming for that, mostly the video. So I'm doing the live stream, doing the and we use a program called Switcher. So it's got four main sections on the screen. The screen is divided into quadrants. On the upper right is the live window. This is what you are broadcasting. On the upper left is the staging window. This is what you are about to see, or you can resize and change color levels and whatnot. On the lower left are all of the elements you can put on the screen, whether it's a lower third title, an animation, your next shot, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And on the lower right is configuration things like let's set up cameras, let's set the transition pattern, let's watch the live chat, all the the bits and bobs. So what often happens, and it happened today, is we'll be playing the song for communion, and everybody gets up and goes to the front, and they're dismissing people by rows, and I want to walk with my wife. So she's about 6, 7 rows back. I sneak in and merge, and we go up. Well, while I'm up there, the first song ends and the second song starts. So Susan, God bless her, normally helps out with the audio.
Mhm.
She says, I've had a minimum of training. I'll switch the camera and title because we're no longer looking at the soloist. She walked off screen. Why should the viewer at home be looking at an empty microphone?
Empty chair.
And the lower third is wrong.
Mhm.
So she switches the camera to the piano guy, Jerry. And then the lower left locks up. We are stuck. I get back and she goes, I don't know what I did. I don't know. I just switched. She's telling me what she did. This lower quadrant won't respond to any finger tapping. It's on an iPad. So
Yeah.
I'm like swiping, dragging, trying to do anything I can. Everything else on the screen works fine. Like, huh. Now, if I were a programmer,
Yeah. Right.
which I might be,
Yeah.
what would I do to kick this thing in the side of the head to wake it up? I thought it needs an event. So I tried changing the icon size because that icon worked.
Okay. Yeah.
That's outside of this dead zone. So I'm making the elements, the lower thirds and all this stuff, making them bigger, making them smaller. Nope, that doesn't unstick it. Meanwhile, the song is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Let's try something else. Let's add a new shot. So I create this 2-up display and I'm going, let's look at the organ and the piano at the same time. It apparently got added, but I couldn't select it. It still wasn't awake. Meanwhile, the song is coming to an end.
Hmm. You can't just stop the app and
You
restart
can't
it.
stop the app. That would kill the live stream.
Yeah.
So I went over to the lower right, which has we've got 9 iPhones out there acting as our remote cameras. I said, we're done with camera 2. It's on the podium for the sermon. Sermon's long gone. I said, I will disconnect it and reconnect it real fast. That did it. It woke up that it needed an event. It just needed the right event. I went, woohoo!
Everybody's like, what is he happy about?
That was the most that was one of the most obscure technical fixes I've ever done without a manual.
That's crazy.
The other one was when we got an old HP plotter. I may have told this story years ago, but when I was working at Plexus as an IT guy, we got an HP, like a giant inkjet. This thing was for printing D-size plots. And while I plug it in and it says select language. Well, my smartass friend, Eric, he comes up and hits Icelandic. Now I can't read the menus to do anything else, including change the language back.
Back then, you couldn't use your phone to do translation or anything.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I said, if I were a developer, I would want some sort of hard reset on this because there's not a button on the back that goes, reset.
Right.
I said, it's got to be like power on this button. Nope. Power on and hold that button. And eventually I got it. I went, yay, it's back to select language.
Icelandic. Oh, come on. That's funny.
Could have been worse. But yeah, you just have to, you have to put on your tech hat. It's fine to be a tech head once in a while.
Now, I remember we had some guys here doing some work in our yard. And I said, do you need to get on my Wi-Fi? Because you can't make a phone call up here. There's no cell signal. However, if you get on the Wi-Fi, you can make a phone call.
Right.
Or get on the internet. So I asked him, I said, do you want to get online? He said, oh, please. I said, yeah, no problem. So I took his phone and I immediately look at it. I'm like, what am I looking at here? And it was all like it was Hispanic. It was Spanish, and it just took me a minute to adjust and go, "Oh, this is connection R or whatever," you know. And I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I got it." I'm having to type in the password. It just took me a minute to refigure, restructure my head. Like you said, where are the buttons supposed to be and where they are, figured back out. So I just thought that was funny.
All right. I think I'm out of topics for now. We did have some other news stories and whatnot. This was a sample of what you would get, the kind of back and forth banter on our Patreon show.
Yep.
So we will be back again. I've got some travel, and then the next planned regular episode of this will be recorded on June 8th. So 4 weeks from now, because we got a lot
4
of
weeks. You got a lot of travel going on.
we got stuff. Well, I'm gone next week because we're leaving for travel. Then we'll be on travel. Then we'll be coming
Yep.
back from travel and won't have time to prep a show. Then it'll be the next week. So
Yep.
3 weeks off. Hopefully I'll remember how to do this stuff and the studio will behave itself, because last time I came back from being gone a couple of weeks, it was fighting me.
Maybe I'll do a show in there somewhere with a guest. How about that?
Did we talk about my new Wi-Fi? We'll save
Your
that
new-
for the next
oh
one.
yeah, we did. Yeah, we talked about that.
On the last show 2 weeks ago, I
Yeah.
don't think I had it up and running. Wi-Fi
Think so.
6, Wi-Fi 7 stuff.
Um.
I don't remember talking about that.
No. Oh yeah, you did, because it got me thinking about my situation here.
Oh, okay.
Because there was you got the TP Link.
Yeah, like the BE 10,000 or
yeah.
something. The
'Cause you know what?
tri-band one. Yep.
I was looking at those, and one feature stood out. I know we got to go here a second, but one feature stood out that I don't have right now, and I got a mix of 2.4 gigahertz
Yep.
stuff and 5 gigahertz stuff, obviously. And of course, I think you were talking about your phone did 6E or 7, and my Mac will as well. So anyway, I was looking at it, and the TP Link has a what they call it, MLD multi. It was basically all of those frequencies can be used at the same time. So
Yes.
you end up with your devices being able to have a better connection, as well as like your Wi-Fi 6 or 7 stuff is not hampered by the lower frequencies. I was like, that is awesome. So I really started looking deep into it, and it wasn't as expensive as I thought for
It
a
was
free.
like $450 or something.
I think it's even cheaper.
No, not the 10,000.
I have to show you. There was one I was
on Amazon.
yeah. I mean, but still, it's not crazy amount.
Yeah, the next one down was like 250 or something from TP Link. The other
Yeah.
thing that I like is you get a lot more IP addresses. It's not just one class C of here's your 250.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about. Your IP number
Yeah.
changed on something.
It goes from like .84
Oh.
to .87 going.
It changed on
woohoo!
your mixer.
It did change on my mixer.
Yeah, remember your tablet wasn't talking to the.
And and what was the other thing? It has 3 networks. So by default, you've got your main one. So I call mine Tomasi Public. And then we've got a guest network, and it's got a third one that defaults to IoT. Now I haven't moved any IoT devices over yet. I got to test like a switch just to make
Yeah.
sure Alexa works and my phone works, and I can still use this switch for what I want to do.
See, I've had my Wi-Fi SSID for 800 years.
Yep.
So it's the same, and it is the same password. It's a good password, but it's the same password, and so all my devices are on it. So it's time for me to really do what you're talking about, putting my cameras and stuff on like an IoT kind of network.
And the migration of the regular stuff was pretty simple. Like we didn't have to touch our TV. We didn't have to touch, most of the devices in this house, because I used the same SSID, same
Yes.
password, same IP range, because it didn't default to my old one that came from Google, which was 168.86.
Yes.
So I moved most of that stuff into the range, but the dynamic stuff, I don't care
Mhm.
if it's now .84. But there were a few things that I had to make static. So I did reservations on those, no problem. And we're up and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah. So I'm also do not have a direct. I was going to run a wired backhaul from my office to the house,
Mhm.
but I'm relying on the Wi-Fi backhaul. And actually, it's doing pretty good. But
Yeah.
I think I would get a better setup if I went with the Wi-Fi 7. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Give it a shot. All right, that takes us to the end of the show. Thank you very much. We do this show Sundays at 8:30 Eastern time. If it was your birthday, happy birthday. We'll get caught up at some point.
Right.
We appreciate all our patrons who make this possible. We will not be making a Patreon show, so you're going to get a free month. That's always nice. Wasn't this the month? No, later this year they're changing over all the billing. We haven't figured that out yet.
Oh, that's right.
If
Yeah.
and what happens there. We're just kind of waiting till the disaster hits. Looking forward to doing the training later this week and again when I get back. So next time we talk, I would have delivered 2 courses.
It's great.
Give you an update on those. That's going to be fun. And we'll have had our Alaska trip. So lots happening. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, please
Do it well.
be safe. Know that we love you. Take care. And we got to do the outro music and stuff. All right. If you're so inclined, give us a call on the listener line. It is still alive. I tested it just this morning. 707-530-2428, because if nobody calls in about 6 months, they take it away. And then we're really up a creek.
Yep.
So we're not letting that happen. I have a monthly recurring task that says, call the Technorama voice line. Call the Topic is Trek voice line. And then I just say, hi, it's me, making sure the line still works.
It's funny. I'm doing the same thing. So actually,
I don't get your messages.
no, I didn't leave a message. I just saw it have it answer.
Till next time, tell a friend about Technorama. And as always, Craig's going to give us a binary high five.
All right. 101.
Thanks, everybody. Done. I thought that was going to be a short one. It wasn't. It was an hour and 3 minutes.
I'm calling and hanging up on myself.
You got to leave a message.
I should. Yeah.
I've got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Okay.
Good. I can take that off my list then.
Yep. Did I tell you what happened to the live stream last week?
Live stream. Oh, what happened?
I'll give you a Dave Slusher.
I know. I love his exasperated sighs.
He's the king of sighs.
Yeah.
I know we're still broadcasting, so hi.
Yeah.
It was going along just fine. As soon as I started, there's like a yellow warning icon up in the top left that says, hey, one of your cameras may be a little slow or something needs attention. I pull it down and it says, you don't have a whole lot of storage left on this device. It's a 256 gig iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little while later it jumps up and goes, iOS 18. Whatever can't be installed. Not enough storage. Like, good. I don't want to install it right now anyway. I'm in the middle of a live stream.
Right.
We get about 40 minutes into this, right in the middle of a confirmation ceremony, and it died. The live stream, the local recording, the app, everything says, you're out of space. Like, oops.
What's on there?
It not only does it live stream, but it's doing a recording locally.
Oh.
So it's got 6 months of service. Like, yep, it's been about 6 months since we did this. Going back to November. So I spent the rest of the service going 3 gig, delete, 3 more gig, delete. I got 128 gig back. And now I have a recurring task that says, clean this thing off once a month.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we had an 11 o'clock service that also requested. Normally we don't. We only do the 9 a.m. The 11 a.m. was also live streamed by request because we had a special baptism service. So,
hey, what?
Thank you, Brandon.
Can you not hook up an external hard drive to that?
To the iPad?
Yeah.
Not really.
Do what?
Not really.
I meant so you could write to it rather than the storage internally.
Nah. Just needs a little care and feeding like everything else.
Yeah, right. All right. All right, cool.
Just like every Friday, I log into our Linode server and go, how much space does the root file system have? Because it filled up once and it was painful. So now I watch it.
Oh, I know.
I should probably just set up an alert that uses NTFY to push me something. Go, hey, you've only got 3 gig left.
Well, on those little instances that we use for work, they don't have a whole lot of space on there. So if you leave a machine running for a long time,
Yep.
you could potentially fill up space. Uh, but we hibernate them and then they wake up. So what I set it up to do is when it wakes up, probably not the best security conscious thing, but I've got lots of VMs, so I really don't not too worried about the logs. When it boots up on boot, it clears the logs out. Like I'm not really testing them for security.
Yeah.
So
Alrighty. We're going to end the live stream here. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you checking us out or watching like regular. Till June 8th. Take care. Be
all
safe.
right.
Bye.
Bye everybody. Thank you.